There's a lot of mobile workflows where there are absolute power users in that they would have a massive studio and outboard and everything, but they need to capture a different group, for instance. That power user would basically want like an AP type of product where they can take a few of those and capture live. And there's a lot of advantages in that they can work in different spaces. The cable lengths are really short. You can get the signal cleaner. Yeah, you don't need a talkback system. You can communicate with them in spaces, and so I think that's one. Other would be mixing workflows. I think where a lot of the really popular engineers are very busy. They're everywhere, and so they need to work on mixes whenever they can. And so for them, something like a twin, and although it doesn't seem like a high-end persona, a satellite plus this is can get the job done. Yeah. And then you have this traditional, which is just a studio, large-scale studio where you have lots of ins and outs. And the beautiful thing about these devices is that thanks to the Thunderbolt and our drivers, they can be mixed and matched at will to make however big or small system you need. So as the computing becomes more mobile, it actually becomes less powerful because the focal point of mobile computing is mobility. And therefore, they don't have the fastest CPUs, the most memory. All those things actually go down, and battery life and those considerations go up. And so the argument for DSP returns in those types of workflows. So Thunderbolt, we were tracking it since it was called Lightpeak, even before then. It has really, its daisy chaining capability really gives us a lot of flexibility in building the units as single modular entities, but then conceiving much bigger things. And so it's really helped us imagine a much more interesting set of products. Yeah. The technology is already there. We have great mics, we have great interfaces, and we have all of this, especially with Apollo, with the mixer console and the rack of effects. Any effect you want, effectively you can do it anywhere as long as it sounds good. And so, yeah, artists are, whenever they're touring, they're staying at some place, and they probably choose a place that sounds nice, and they can set up shop, and whenever the creative spark hits, they can just do it, and then they can break it back down very quickly and move on. And other things are people in the metros. And I actually have a couple of customers in Japan where they're in their shop, actually. They've dedicated a room with the drum kit. It's mic'd up, has an Apollo, and they advertise it to customers to come. Because in metro cities, nobody can record drums at home. And so what they'll do is bring their Pro Tools session, record their drums, and so it enables all these cool things to do things that were before impossible. It's just the way it's done. Yeah, it's when you look at what the entire history of music, the analog one is much longer than digital history, right? And it was always about collecting great songs, great musicians with the great equipment, putting them in a room for a little bit, and then when it's cooking, you hit the red button and you get it, right? And then there's a lot less to do. There's a lot less to do afterwards. And I guess digital workflows where the sound is not created that way, your only alternative is you need a bunch of outboard, or you need to imagine the sound and somehow, get it there in the mix. So yeah, it's really the best of analog and digital. It's the convenience, the portability, the affordability, but with that inspiration, the color, to get that performance. And then hopefully, musicians can become more confident to actually capture those performances with the sounds already. And many people tell us that makes it easier after, when those decisions get pushed up forward, that the workflows afterwards get easier and the song kind of gets there faster.